Welcome to 30 Minute Reviews. I'm Adam,
I'm Peter.
and this is the ninth anniversary, about a week late, but still, ninth anniversary, because this has been going on for 9 years now.
That's pretty
Um,
good.
yeah. I think we have longevity better than a lot of other podcasts. Because there was one that I was listening to that they quit because it was too much work. It was an indie games podcast, and they quit after like a year. And I was like, oh no, you get to play video games. Like I never complain like about having to watch or play things.
Mhm.
Because like it beats anything else being able to do that.
Yeah.
Like so before we get into the thing we're doing today, which today, like last year we did our top 10 movies of all time. This year we're doing our top 10 video games of all time. Before we get into that, fuck, my phone's not gonna sound the room. Um, we have to do some housekeeping because every year we do the top 10 list at the
hmm
end of the year. And for the 2020s, we have our best movie of 2023, which was Oppenheimer. We have our best movie of 2022, which was The Northman, winning out in a tiebreaker over Nope. We do not have movies picked for 2021 and 2020. And rather than relitigate this whole thing, we've come up with an expedited process to figure this out. So for 2021, we're just gonna do summary judgment, say Dune Part 1 was the best movie because I had it at number three on my list, and I don't think you would have put Nightmare Alley
No.
too much higher. Because that was my number one movie. So I think that that's an easy, because I think Dune to be your number one. So that's an easy one right there. Um, for 2020, I found my top 10 list from 2020 when I was going through some old notebooks. So I sent Peter the list, and it was like Birds of Prey was on the list, Soul was on the list. It was a very light year, so like Wonder Woman 1984 was on the list, um, and Bill and Ted, and there were a few others. And I think the best one we agreed on was Birds of Prey.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, because Birds of Prey, I think, yeah, it was
Yeah.
a
I
very
think I
light.
said that one has the most rewatchability of like the things that
Yeah,
we were
because
picking from.
I have my phone's like I said in the room, so I don't have the list on me right now. But it was one of those things where it's like I think Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure or Bill and Ted Face the Music was only on the list because it was
One of
what's
the
it called?
10 movies that got
Yeah.
released. Yeah.
Well, not just that, but also I had it reasonably high because I watched it. It came out in like August on like PVOD.
hmm
It was like one of those day and date things. So it's like there were some parts of the country the theaters were open, and I was like, there's just an optimism to this that's like very nice right now, considering it was like month four of quarantine.
Yeah.
It's like that was something. But yeah, and Soul was definitely recency bias because I like Soul, but I would not put it at number three for best movies of 2020 right now.
hmm
Um,
It's also hard to compare too. It's hard to compare Soul with the Dune.
yeah, that's true.
Like they're very different movies.
Yeah. I think I had Turning Red on my list for 2021 as well. And either way,
Oh yeah, I forgot
um,
about that one.
that one that should not have been a streaming release. That was a big fuck up. But we're not here to talk about Disney's repeated mistakes or what mistakes they're planning to be repeating today at D23. Today we're gonna talk about our best movies of all time. So I did not order them in any particular order. I just alphabetized them to make
Wait,
it
movies or video games?
video games. I'm sorry.
Okay, good. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
what's the thing?
So a curveball doing the exact same thing we did last year.
Yeah.
Um, no, I just
That's
did it.
what I think my number one, I think it's like my definitive number one, but the rest of mine are kind of just general like arrangement, like
Yeah,
top
that
10.
was kind of like I don't think of these games. I keep saying movies of these games. There's nothing here that I would say like, this is definitively my favorite game of all time because it depends on the
Mhm.
day for me.
Yeah, and
Um,
a lot of them are so different too.
yeah,
It
it's
was
hard to
hard.
compare.
It was hard to come up with a list of just 10 too.
Yeah, and that was the other thing too is that I like there was one that you told me was gonna be on your list, so I'm like I'll talk about that one because I do really like that game too. I was like I'll just cut that and we'll talk about it when we talk about it for yours. So that way it's like it gave more like when you told me that was on the list, it gave an opportunity to put something else there.
hmm
Um, because it's like we're gonna talk about it anyway, so why am I gonna also put it on mine? But I do feel like we're gonna have some commonality in
I
a few
yeah,
of
I
the
think
games.
I think so.
Um, so do you want to go first with your? Do you want to keep your number one for last and have that be like your definitive game of best favorite game of all time and put that last, or do you want to start with, start with
That's what
that
I was
one?
thinking. I was
Okay,
gonna save that one for my last choice.
okay. So
Um,
you go first with your number 10 then, or whatever you want to call it.
all right, so my number 10, I decided to pick this game, which I know I've told you about before, but I don't know if I talked about it on here before. But it's called Witch Hunt,
Oh
and
yeah, I remember you talking about that.
it's relatively new. It's from like at least probably like from 4 or 5 years ago now. But it's this indie Russian game where it's this one guy coded and made the entire game. And it's one of the few horror games that's actually scary like throughout the entire game and it's like very fun to play.
Yeah, I
And it
think you had that in 2021
mhm.
when we did the year in review for like game of the year. Because I think you asked like, can we do a game that came out in the past? And we did. We split the category that year and did one game that came out in the past and then one game that came out in that year.
That must have been it then. Yeah, but it's not on my number one, but it's very I've replayed it a few times because it's so much fun. Because every time you beat the game, the game automatically erases your save file and you have to start over again. Because
That's
a lot of the game is randomly generated, so every time you play it, all the items and objects are in different places around the map, and it's like one giant open world map.
what's the premise of the game? Like, what's the?
Oh yeah, so it's in like the 1800s, and there's like a little village in the woods in Europe, and there's a witch terrorizing the town, and then you just go out and hunt supernatural creatures, but you only have like a musket gun, so you have to like repack it every time you shoot, and like a pistol and a sword. So
That
everything
does
takes a
sound.
long time.
That does sound like it would be terrifying, and you need to have sound on for this, I assume. Where it's like it's
Yeah,
environmental, where it's like you can't just have it where it's like you're playing it on mute.
no, because
Um,
there's like the main thing that's hunting you, but there's all these little enemies running around in the woods that are like you can hear them coming too, so you have to use like the 3D sound to like hear where they're coming from.
oh wow, that's cool. Um, yeah, I'm not a big horror game person. I am notoriously a colossal pussy. Um, that's been the for everything. That's why like, the I very rarely cover horror movies. Because I do not want to sit in the theater and watch a horror movie and make an ass of myself. Um, like when they were showing the trailer for The Nun 2, like I would get up and leave. Because there was a really good jump scare in that thing, and every time I knew it was coming, and every time I would jump. So I'm not a big horror person. So at a certain point, I started like, oh no, I have to go to the bathroom, and then like leave in the middle of that trailer. But yeah, it does sound cool. Like it sounds like kind of like The Witcher mixed with like The Witch. Like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, I will say it's very simple too. Like
Mhm.
there are items and things you can buy, kind of level up, but it is like no extra. It's very very simple game because just one guy that
Right.
made it all.
Because it sounds like it's a roguelike mechanic where it's like because it reshuffles every time. Like I have a roguelike on my list, and it sounds like that kind of where it's like
Hmm.
each time you reload the map, it's gonna be slightly different to be a different level of difficulty.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it sounds cool. I'm not gonna play because I'm not.
Oh, yeah. And I bet compared to a lot of the other games, it's very cheap too. It's a small indie game.
Ah, okay, yeah. Well, I got a few cheapies on mine too. My number one though is my number one because it's alphabetical is Civilization 5.
That's a good one.
Which I put on there because I feel like I couldn't, I couldn't omit it from the list because I've logged over 1,500 hours in that game.
Yeah.
So like I feel like that the it speaks for itself in that regard. I feel like everyone knows what Civilization is, but in case you don't, you pick a country, you found a city, you got to build an empire, and you got to not die, but you got to win by either going to space or having a cultural victory by having everyone else care about your culture, or you have to go to kill everyone else, or build the World Bank and run all the banks, which feels vaguely anti-Semitic when I say it out loud.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it's really fun. I saw people speed running it, and I'm like, how the fuck did you speed run this so fast? And it turns out there are gameplay mechanics that I did not know were in the game. Like, did you know in the very beginning you can when you pick your first technology, you can open the tech tree and pick later ones, and it'll just auto sim the fastest route to get
Oh,
to that.
No, I had no idea you could do
Yeah, so
that.
like you could if you do that, it'll auto sim the fastest route to get to it. So like you
Mhm,
won't get like animal husbandry in a lot of cases, but you'll go if you want to get fast for the science, you can just jump right through.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah, especially if you want to do the space travel one, then
yeah,
you can just line that
like
up.
yeah, and it's it doesn't really go that far out. It only lets you go as far as the area you're in. So like, if you're in the ancient area, you can only go up to the furthest part there.
Oh, okay.
Um, so it's not like you can just go like put me to space and it'll just take the fastest route there. Um, but it's it's things like that, and then I especially when you compare it to six because I think six changed the game fundamentally too much with like the introduction of the districts and stuff like that, where you have to like build different districts on different tiles to build buildings. Like if you want to build like the amphitheater or something, you need to have like a theater district built in each city.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah, and you need to have like a science district where you build your universities and stuff. Like that was the thing that I was like, I don't, I'll play it, but five is a game that if I want to go into that experience, I'll go into five.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
I think I still have it for Steam. I definitely played it a few times, but it's not in my top 10, but it's a very good game.
yeah, and I think that's the thing is that it's like a lot of these games, even if we haven't played it, it's still like we're still gonna be like, oh no, that's still something that's fun enough. And the other thing is
Yeah.
the install size is very small, which is another contributing factor for a lot of these. Because like apparently God of War Ragnarok is coming out for PC in the near future. And it's gonna be 200 gigabytes.
Oh,
And I'm like,
that's
that's
crazy.
absurd. Like,
I don't know, we'll probably have to have like a 100 gigabyte update once you
yeah.
install it too.
And it's like, what was it? Like Hogwarts Legacy was like 90, and I was like, fuck this. Like, that's the number one contributing factor to me not going back and playing games again. Is I only have a terabyte of hard drive space, and only 500 of that is usable for installing. I don't know why,
Mhm.
but whatever, it is what it is. And or I think it's like 500 solid. I don't know. I'm not a tech person, but either way, the if I need to make room for something and something's got to go, I'm not reinstalling it nine times out of 10.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
That's
it,
that I'm similar like that too.
yeah, it's something. So what's your next one?
My next one is Half-Life 2.
I
I
bought this but have not played it yet.
well, it is. They're all amazing, but I really like Half-Life the original too.
Hmm.
But if I had to pick one, Half-Life 2, I think is the better game. It's so much fun. All the like expansion packs are fun. The story is really interesting. Um, yeah, it's just like a very complete game.
Yeah, what was it? I bought I got the Valve collection for like $7.
Yeah.
So it was like Left 4 Dead, Half-Life 2, Half-Life, Portal, Counter-Strike, and I have not played any of them yet. Um, because I keep getting sucked into Stardew Valley. Um, but yeah, I do want to play. Is it a first-person shooter or is it more like
Yeah, it's a first-person shooter, but I think it's very story-driven too. But a lot of it is, yeah, shooting and like killing people.
oh, okay? Because like that's not one that I've ever seen any. Well, I mean, we had an Xbox, but we never had the game, so I never saw
Yeah, I
anyone
got
play
it
this.
for what was probably yeah, I got it for Xbox 360. That orange
That
pack
was it.
thing.
Yeah, the orange
It
box.
was
Yeah.
Portal, Half-Life 2, and like Team Fortress.
It's like one of those things where it's like even if there are certain games that even if you didn't play it, they were kind of like background radiation where it's like you're familiar enough with the iconography. Like that was like
Hmm.
I saw Borderlands yesterday, which don't see Borderlands if you haven't seen Borderlands yet. But I've never played a Borderlands game, and I still recognize a lot of I recognize Claptrap. I recognize the guy with the fucking mask whose name I'm forgetting. Like
Hmm.
the woman who runs the PG-13 brothel. Like it's the movie's PG-13. I don't understand why.
Yeah, because the original game I think is rated M.
Yeah, I remember like I know even like Tiny Tina's Wonderland is rated M, and it's like I don't know why you would go PG-13 with this. But it's you know what it is? It was rated R, and they cut it back to PG-13. You can tell when you watch the action sequences because it's
Oh,
like
they were
they do
gonna be
that
more
thing.
bloody.
Yeah, you can tell from the way it's cut that it's like, oh, you cut away here too quick. You cut away here too quick. This should have been longer. And yeah, um, but yeah, but it's one of the things with like Half-Life was also one of those games that just kind of omnipresent since it came out. almost 20 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, like, well, Half-Life 2 would have been like, oh wait, right? That sounds right, but I don't know if that is
I think
right.
yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
But like it's one of those things where it's like I've never played it, but I'm familiar enough with what I keep wanting to call him Gordon. I don't think that's his name, but
No, you're right. Yeah,
oh, okay.
Gordon. I forget now. I've sound dumb, but I forget what his last name is, or
Like
that's his first name.
Gordon Life.
Lightfoot. That's a band, I think.
Um,
Yeah, but yeah, it's good. Like, it's like very weird. Like, it's even if it's about aliens and like invading stuff, but then there's all this other like trans-dimensional things where there's other like beings controlling things. It's very interesting. It like leaves things up in the air too. Like, you're not entirely sure what's going on.
yeah. I am gonna play it. I do have it. I am gonna play it. It's
Yeah.
like that, and like there are a few holes in my video game playing knowledge I'm trying to fill. Like that's one of them. Portal obviously because that's in the collection, but like Prince of Persia I recently got, and I
Oh
got a
yeah.
few of the Resident Evil games.
Yeah. Resident Evil, the first one is so hard that I've never beaten it.
I think that's the one I bought, so that's good to know.
Yeah. It's crazy how hard it is.
So I got it on Steam because I was like, this is the original Resident Evil. I'm like, all right, let me do that.
Yeah, that's
Um,
what I have. It is good, like it's updated.
hmm,
The graphics look really good, but you'll see, like you have a limited amount of saves.
hmm, okay. What was there was another big game that I wanted to try that I hadn't played before that I also bought. I can't remember what it was now. Um, I still have to finish Silent Hill.
That's
Um,
hard. I remember we played that in college.
yeah,
That one's
that was
so that one. I think it's a little bit easier to the original Resident Evil, but the I think the puzzles are harder in Silent Hill.
yeah, that I remember we had the guide open a good amount of the time while we were doing it, and I think that the thing is, the key difference between ease of games then and ease of games now is number one, we don't have the attention span.
Hmm.
That we like as a collective society, we don't have the attention span we did in 1994. But I think the other thing is the book, like the physical instruction booklet going
Would
away.
help more
Exactly.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, because there was like a note section in a lot of them where you would take notes on what you were doing and what you had to do. Like
Yeah.
it trained you to think differently. If it doesn't pop out at you now, it's not, not good game design.
Hmm.
Um, but speaking of games we played in college, my second game is Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh yeah. So if I have the same
Do you want
game,
to
should
just
I
jump and
just
talk about Grand Theft Auto 5 at length?
because
Because this
I
is
yeah I do. I didn't know where I would have put it, but yeah, GTA 5 is also on my top 10
it's
list.
not your number one, right?
No, it's not my number
Okay.
one.
Yeah. This game is like I think the best endorsement I can give for this game is that I paid for it so many times because I bought it for the 360, bought it for the PS4, bought it for the PS5, bought it for PC. Like that this is there's a point in this where I'm like, why am I doing this? And a lot of times it's just like I don't want to get up.
Yep.
Like
Yeah, I played it when you got it. Then I bought it for Xbox One, and then it broke, and then I bought it again on Steam.
yeah, it's such a fun game and it's the I think the shooting mechanic it works. A lot of people don't like it, but I like the guided shooting assist.
Yeah, and
Um
you can just shut it off too if you
yeah,
don't like it that much.
yeah, exactly. Like I like the guided shooting assist. I think the weapons wheel is very well handled and that's
Hmm.
great for what this is.
And the
Um
driving mechanic's amazing. That's
yeah,
like
exactly.
all I
Especially
used
when
to
you
do.
take into consideration how bad 4 was with that. And then like if you look
Hmm.
at like Saints Row 4, the driving mechanic is god awful. It's
Yeah.
like you're driving on ice the whole time. But this one it feels real in a weird way.
Hmm.
Um like and each car feels different. Like if you're driving a truck, it somehow feels like there's heft to it. Like
Yeah, the
as you're
weight. Yeah.
driving, you can feel that, and there's a marked difference in how it works.
Yeah.
Um, and then it's like the sandbox of the game is just so fun as well, where it's like even if you're just driving around San Andreas and just kind of just fucking around, like there's fun to be had there. There's always something to
Hmm.
do, and the game rewards exploring and in a really interesting way. The story is the one weak point for me where it's like I don't like I never cared about any of the characters besides Franklin. Um
Yeah.
and I think the special abilities for the characters, I think Franklin's the only one with a useful special ability.
Michael's is definitely the worst.
Yeah, it's the biggest waste, definitely. And I think that
Trevor,
like
because Trevor is just invincibility, so his works is useful too sometimes.
it's not real invincibility, it's partial invincibility.
Yeah,
Where
but
it's
yeah,
like,
Franklin's is clearly the most useful because you can just drive anywhere and not
yeah,
crash.
yeah, like it's the only one I like. I've used Rampage like twice, I think, in free play, but I think anytime I play, I'm using Franklin's ability.
Hmm.
Like, especially when you're going high speeds down the small streets in Los Santos, you kind of need to. Um, and to this day, I still have not gotten motorcycle driving down.
It
Um,
is, I don't like it. Yeah, I
that's
never.
the thing I like about it is the fact that you can use the shotgun while you're on the motorcycle.
Oh yeah, that's
Uh,
true.
but besides that, it if you turn too hard, you're just wiping out and
Hmm.
dying. And director mode is really fun too. If you want to just go and just do shit, you can put on director mode and just turn on invincibility with that, and just
I don't know, just mess around.
yeah, you can set your character to any NPC in the game. Like,
I didn't know that. That's fun.
yeah, because as you play through in the next gen update, which is the edition that came out for PS4 and PC and all that, you'll get notifications through the game that's like this unlocked in director mode, and it's you can just if you put it into director mode, you can pick any NPC that you
Hmm.
encounter. So like you can play as like the hipster guy, you can play as like the guy who runs the movie studio, like there's a mob boss in there that you can play as. I don't remember encountering him in the story, but you can play as him. Like
Yeah,
it's
I will say I like open world games and like the big Rockstar games, but this is like the only one where I actually complete almost all the side quests. Because
yeah,
I usually like I'll play those games and mess around like Red Dead Redemption, Red Dead Redemption 2, but I usually don't complete everything. This game is so much fun that it just encourages you to explore and complete all the side stuff.
and I think the thing is too, like especially compared
Well,
to
not
Red Dead
all of it.
Redemption 2, is like Red Dead Redemption 2, I got I very quickly gave up on that game when it's like the horse died the first time and you
And you
had
have
to
to get
walk
another
back.
horse.
And I was
Yeah.
like, fuck this. I gotta walk all the way back to get another horse. Like that was the point where I was like, I'm good. I've gotten my fill of being a cowboy for today.
Hmm.
Um, but like, and I think a lot of these open world games feel very checklisty in a way that this one doesn't. Where it's like there's very little in this game that you have to do that just feels like a checklist thing that just feels like you're doing the same thing 7 times. Like,
Yeah, because even the missions where it's like the same NPC you're interacting with,
uh-huh.
it's always like something new, like
Yeah.
like something like the weed guy where you get like laced weed and you have to fight
Oh yeah.
the alien, and then for each character it's like slightly different.
Yeah, and it's like the or even like when you're doing the tow truck missions, like
Oh, I love the idea. I always do a tow truck stuff.
that's fun to just go up behind someone with a tow truck and steal their car and just like
Hmm.
leave. Like but like the issue like it when you play like even like Legend of Zelda, like Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild, where you have to
Yeah.
climb the towers. It's like or do like the shrines are all different, but it's fundamentally you're doing the same kind of thing and you have to find them on the map and there's a bunch of them in each zone. That not being in this game, it makes you want to explore more. Or like take any Ubisoft game, like Watch Dogs
Hmm.
or Saints Row, where it's like there are X amount of what's it called? There are X amount of Genki missions. There are X amount of towers you got to go up. Um, so yeah, this is just the best, and I'm optimistic for 6.
Yeah, I hope it's good.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be at least fine. Um, I have a hard time thinking it'll be able to hit expectations.
That would be the problem.
Um, and that first trailer is great. Do you want to do your next one, or do you want to go back to me because we combined our picks for GTA?
Um, I guess I can do the next one.
Okay,
So my next one is Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
that was the one that I cut off of my list because you said that you were going to talk about it,
Oh yeah,
and
there you go.
because I do love this game too. Um,
Yeah, that's what I haven't played in a long time. Probably not since college, but I played it so much, and I re like it was one of the first games I replayed because I liked the story so much. I remember for PlayStation 2 or GameCube, I forget which one.
it was
But
GameCube.
then yeah, okay, with GameCube, and then like the Chow Garden, like the story was so intricate and like complicated. It's kind of
and
funny now in
borderlines
retrospect.
ridiculously.
Yes, that's like the thing I still remember that I was so confused by is that the prototype to the ultimate life form is a giant space dinosaur thing, but the ultimate life form is a hedgehog.
Yeah, exactly. God perfected the object of life with a hedgehog. Don't think about it too
Yeah,
hard. Um, yeah, I
it might
think
have
that
been the peak of the Sonic series too, because then after this was the Shadow game where he has the guns. That wasn't
yeah,
very good.
Sonic
Which
Heroes
is
wasn't
a direct
terrible.
sequel to this, and I never knew that because it fits into it so weirdly that I didn't know it was a direct sequel.
So wait, is it Shadow then Heroes or is it Heroes then Shadow?
It's Shadow and then Heroes.
Oh, okay. I never played Shadow.
Yeah, Shadow.
Um,
It's basically after the events of Adventure Two Battle. Shadow plummets to Earth and gets amnesia,
uh,
and then has to figure out his identity while there's also an alien invasion happening,
hmm,
and he gets to shoot people.
hmm, that is something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's parts.
I've
There's like U.S. There's like army soldiers, and they're like, "Please help me," and you can shoot them and kill them.
nice. What the fuck? That this whole game is like if you like try like looking through because I just replayed the story recently because it's one of the things I'm gonna do for the YouTube channel. I was going through the story and it's just it makes no sense whatsoever. It's like
Yeah,
Sonic looks nothing like Shadow, aside from the fact that they're both hedgehogs. Why does the
even they
government
don't
mix
even
it?
look like hedgehogs.
That's
Like
true.
we just all accept they're hedgehogs because the game tells us that, but they look
That's
nothing
true.
like hedgehogs
That's true. But okay, so let's just live in this world where hedgehogs are 6 feet tall and
and
multicolored
run fast.
and run fast.
Yeah,
Which like I still think is the funniest thing with Sonic. It's like the reason why Sonic can't swim is because the guy who created Sonic the Hedgehog thought that hedgehogs couldn't swim. Which like yes, but hedgehogs also don't run on two
and
legs and
also
wear giant red sneakers.
and they're
So
also the fastest land animal in the world.
yeah, so it's like we're already off the reservation as it is, so to speak. So why even bother, with that? So it's and then like the whole thing with like, okay, so Knuckles for the second time in a row has the Master Emerald get destroyed. Because keep in mind, this is the second consecutive game where this happens, because this is a direct sequel to Adventure. So his mechanic is exactly the same. And Rogue is a double agent,
Yeah,
like, and to this day, even if you buy the Steam edition, her character animation when you get a power up is exclusively that her titties bounce.
yeah.
That's the entire character animation, which he gets a new upgrade. Um, it's the whole game is absolutely ridiculous. Like there's no making and it's like they destroy the moon or half the moon,
Oh yeah.
and everyone's just kind of cool with that. It's like
Well, in the first one, that entire like metropolis gets destroyed. Like I think millions of people die in the first
that's
one.
true. That's true because Chaos does do a lot of damage in that first game. Like, and then like who the fuck is the city planner who built these cities? Not the one that Sonic is in the beginning, but like the highway level that you keep going through. Like
Yeah.
who planned that? And then like the race course where it's like there's like a random like 45-degree angle ramp like in the middle of the highway. Like who thought that was a good idea? It's there are so many weird things. And then it's like the other thing with this being like the last good, I mean, I would say Generations is probably the last good Sonic game, but like from here it went from like Heroes, which was okay, but not the same thing. And in a weird way, Heroes was kind of like Advance 3, where it's like not as good as the previous two, and they got rid of the Chow Garden.
Yeah. I
Like,
did like Sonic Heroes though. But if you replay it, it's so repetitive. It's not
yeah,
that much fun.
yeah, and the levels are and the chaotic levels are unplayable.
Yeah.
Like one of the chaotic levels, you have to destroy however many robots, and there are not that many robots in the level. So you have to loop through the level multiple times to kill
Until
that
yeah,
many
until you
robots.
find them.
And it's like, fuck this. But yeah, I think that this is kind of the thing that like this also came about at a formative time for me, like where
I
it's
remember
like,
it was one of the first trendy games where like my one friend got it, and then it was all me and all my friends had to get this game. It was the first Sonic game I played, I think.
yeah, I played Sonic 2 on the Genesis.
Oh, never mind. I did. My friend when I was growing up in Ohio had a Genesis, and I had a Nintendo 64, so I did play it on there.
Yeah, the what's it called? The that one was really fun too, but Adventure 2 is just and the game is so broken, but it's fine.
Yeah,
Like,
and you get to play as Eggman. That's fun.
yeah, those levels suck though. That's my least favorite part of the game is those levels.
I hate the Emerald, the Knuckles and Rogue levels.
I only hate the Rogue ones because she has two that are infinitely harder than Knuckles. And
I
it's the
hate
one in the
the
security,
yeah,
like
that
the
one.
security hall where you have
Hmm.
5 minutes, and then there's also the one her space level is just awful
Yeah.
because it's impossible to move around because of the gravity wells, and then on top
Yep.
of that, all of the clues are backwards. They're either opposite or they're written backwards. So you have to pause the game, sit there, and then like figure it out.
Decipher it. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you have more than one, you have to wait for it to cycle because it's like the clue stays up for a few seconds, then it goes to the other one. So you're like, fuck, I gotta sit here and wait. Then you gotta go back to the original. You're better off in those levels just flying around and hoping for the best.
Yep.
Um, and also
Until that.
the character on character fights are not quite as fun as they could be. That's my other big issue with it.
Hmm.
Like the fight between Tails and Eggman at the end of the game
Oh
is
yeah, I remember
frustrating as fuck.
that. Yeah.
And the Knuckles and Rogue fight is not fun either. And Sonic and Shadow is very easy to cheese your way through. If you just keep using the light dash, you can just shoot right past him. So he'll go into the middle of the rings and then you just light dash through him.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a very easy fight to cheese your way through. Or you just hang back until he does his ranged attack, and then you just like turn into a ball and shoot ahead, and you'll just hit him every time. It's
Hmm.
it like especially coming off of how difficult the previous two bosses were, like that is
Hmm.
like a weird oversight. Um, and that last level is just needlessly long. That one we got to play as everyone except for
Oh yeah,
Shadow.
it's like a relay race kind of
Yeah,
thing.
you gotta go and it's like it's one of those things like as you go through, it's like, but why do we need to change off
Yeah.
between people? And the other thing is too, it's impossible to do without getting a power up that's optional and they don't tell you it's in the game
Yeah.
because you need to get the power up for Knuckles that allows you to breathe underwater, and that's not
Yeah.
something you encounter naturally through gameplay. Um, Now I know to get it as I'm playing through, but if you don't know that's there, you're just kind of like, well, this sucks.
Hmm.
Because you'll drown every time. But either way, I do still love the game. I'm not just like it's a very easy game to shit on because it's very buggy, but it is
But
very fun to play.
it's such a huge game too.
Yeah, it was. This is the first game that I figured out how to glitch and do something
Hmm.
cool by glitching. Because if you go in the Chow Garden and you as Sonic or Shadow and you homing attack into the corner, you'll go off the stage and you'll like
Oh.
fly out past it. And when you come back, your Chow will all be underground with the little balls floating where they
Hmm.
are. Um, and that was the first glitch I figured out how to do. So this game does have a very special place in my heart. My next one, which should also probably come as no surprise to you because you saw me play countless hours of this one, Kingdom Hearts 2.
Oh yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Very specifically Kingdom Hearts 2.
Hmm.
Because I think no other Kingdom Hearts game feels as good to play. No other Kingdom Hearts game like scales the levels in the way that, this one does. Um, and this is the closest I will get to playing a roguelike, even though it's not a roguelike, a Souls-like, even though it's not really. It's just more
It's
about
close.
it's like the boss rush at the end is kind of the thing. Um, I think that the story is meh. It does have Goofy um almost get killed and Donald go into a blind rage over that. And it which does make it kind of funny, but I think that like look, if you're going to Kingdom Hearts games for the story, I think you're gonna be
The
disappointed
most
because
complicated story in the world.
and I think a lot of that comes from the fact that it feels like very much made up as they went along, which like, okay, fine, you're making it up as you go along. That's how most people write stories at this point. But you're just continually adding shit that doesn't really need to be added. Um, and this one very clearly feels like you have to go back to every world specifically to pad out the game's runtime. Um, but at the same time, I don't think that like the combat of this game is what brings me back to it every time. They you the the depth of the combat, the way that especially in the final mix on the collector's editions that you can get for PC and PlayStation and all that, like the amount of stuff they added to it, and by the time you reach the end of the game, you feel like you've come a long way since the very beginning.
Hmm.
Like I can't think of another game where the combat feels that way. Where it's like you can tell when you look back at how it was when you started versus at the end, like this character has come physically a long way. And arguably it's more powerful than Sora ever is later on because this is the most powerful he gets at any point. Like he does not hit that power level again in either 3Ds or in 3. So arguably this was the biggest threat in the entire series up until this point for him.
Hmm.
Which is weird considering it's not the end of the trilogy.
Are they gonna make a fourth one?
Yes, and apparently there's Star Wars in it.
Will it come out in like
See,
20
that's the
years?
thing. That's the thing. This is the longest gap between games, um, ever since the first game came out. Because there hasn't been a new game since 2020. And that was the rhythm game, which was basically um Chain of Memories, but as a rhythm
Hmm.
game instead of a card deck building card game. Um, and allegedly four is the next one. And Gamescom is coming up later this month. Square does not have a game on their release calendar for next year. Like they do not have a big title. I would not be surprised if this is it. Granted, the guy who directs this, I think, is being kept alive through a solid stream of methamphetamine because he goes between Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh yeah,
Like so he's carrying this company on his back at this point, no
that's
more.
it. That's it.
Yeah, like I know 16 just came out and I think he has something to do with 16, but like this man is doing a lot for them and I don't know how the fuck he hasn't like died yet. Like it's a lot to do. And also, I didn't know this. The woman who did the score, I think I told you this, the woman who did the score of what's it called? Of Kingdom Hearts also did the score of the Mario and Luigi Game Boy games.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I love those games.
Yeah, she accidentally was the reason that Brotherhood, the new our Brothership, the new Mario Luigi game, people found out about it because she accidentally let it slip that she was working on it during an
Oh yeah.
interview, and then they showed it off at the last Nintendo Direct. Um, but that's gonna be cool. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to Kingdom Hearts 4, and Kingdom Hearts 2 is another game that I just go back into and just like don't think about the story. Don't think about anything that happens
Yeah.
too hard. And
Just the
you know what?
gameplay.
You don't have to sit through a section where you have to play only with Tarzan as your buddy. You don't have to go through Monstro in this one, which is a ridiculous maze. You don't have to deal with card decks. You don't have to play the same story 3 times. And you don't have to sit through the entirety of Let It Go as an unskippable cutscene. So you know what? This is the best Kingdom Hearts game because that happened in 3, and I was like, oh, so this is just a less well animated version of Let It Go. Like, yeah, it's questionable at best. So, what's your next one?
How many do I have left? I think I lost count.
One, two, three. I just finished 3, so I think that means you're on 4.
Okay. I think because of the GTA thing that confused me.
Yeah,
All right, so my next one will be the Resident Evil 2 remake that came out a few years ago.
I've
Um,
heard good things about that.
it's so good. So I watched the Resident Evil 2, but I never really played it
Hmm.
because they never released like a HD remaster like for the first one. So this was the first time I played it in its entirety for the remake, and they did a really good job like making it more modern, but it's still difficult. Like you still have to explore everything.
Right.
There's two different to complete the full game. You have to play as two different characters and do each of their stories. And then at the very end, you like find out like you get a full to full ending after you complete both of them. So it took me over 10 hours to do the story, like the
Oh
main
wow.
storyline. So it's definitely worth it. It like felt, but it didn't get boring or repetitive. Like a lot of different stuff was going on. It was like creepy and funny. So it was like the really fun game. I haven't played a game like that in a long time. And the Resident Evil 3 remake was not even close to as good. It felt like a DLC expansion. It took me like 4 hours to beat that game. It took me like a third of the time.
Was Resident Evil 3 the one about Jill Valentine, or am I thinking of something entirely different?
Yep. Yeah. So they from the first game, then all the rest of the Resident Evils usually like pick someone
Hmm.
from that original game to like follow. So the second one introduces Leon Kennedy and Claire. I forgot her name. Claire Redfield, who's
Hmm.
the sister of someone from the first game. And then from then it like switches. The third one's about Jill Valentine. She's in the first one too.
Oh, okay.
Like it's basically in the second and third one both take place in Raccoon City, like as the zombies are like invading and things.
Right. 'Cause I remember there being a Jill Valentine specific game. Is that Resident Evil 3, or is that just a standalone like
Mhm.
Super Princess Peach?
That's Resident Evil 3. And the
Oh,
original
okay.
Resident Evil 3 is also about Jill Valentine and Carlos, this other Umbrella agent guy.
Oh, okay. Because like I said,
And
like
it's
there are a
basically
lot
about
of these games that are
Umbrella
kind of
sent people in to kill any witnesses to the mansion in
oh, okay.
for Raccoon City.
Yeah, because like I said, there's a lot of games that are just kind of like background radiation.
Hmm.
And this is one of them where I've seen it on the shelf enough times. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, there is like a lot of weird legal stuff about that where there was originally supposed to be a different sequel, but
Hmm.
then whoever had a license for the game was trying to make a little DLC game, and
Hmm.
that's what eventually became Resident Evil 3. So that's why it's so much shorter than
Okay.
Resident Evil 2.
Okay, that makes sense. Um, but yeah, I am eventually gonna play the Resident Evil games. I
It's
do
good.
have that on my list to go through.
The
Um,
and the second one, the remake, because the second one originally was just like the first one, where it's very difficult. You have to use the ink ribbons. You have to burn the zombies, or else they always come back. They don't die.
mhm,
This one, the zombies are really hard. They don't really die all the way, but it's you can save as much as you want. There's like a lot of other more modern things about it.
right. Yeah, because I know that the fourth Resident Evil is one of the greatest games of all time.
Yes,
Like
that
that's
might appear later on my list too.
I had a feeling when you had Resident Evil 2 on the list that 4 was gonna be somewhere on here.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I can't speak to it, but like again, I am gonna play them eventually. Um, I'm sure you've played this next one.
Mhm.
I'm not 100% though. Mario Party 5. Very specifically, Mario Party 5 is my next
Oh yeah, I had that one.
one.
I played that one a lot. That's one of the top ones I played.
And it's like for me, this came down. I want to have Mario Party represented on this list because I played so much of it, and then it's like, well, which one? And I never had an N64 until like fairly recently. I mean, granted, I bought it like almost 15 years ago at this point. Um, but it's I had a GameCube, and then it came down to is it 5 or 6, and 6 was the beginning of the gimmick boards that I never really
Yep.
liked.
Yeah.
Um, and 5 was the last one. And also the car dueling mode was really fun in 5.
Mhm.
And the chessboard mode and the what's it called? Was this the one that had basketball, 3-on-3 basketball as a mini game?
I think so because
Or
I
was
never
it
played. I don't think I had six, and I remember that.
6 is the one with the sun and the moon where there was a
Yeah,
microphone attachment.
that's it.
Um,
Yeah, the microphone.
yeah. But like even the boards had gimmicks. Like one of them, everyone wrote a chain chomp, and everyone started out with 5 stars, and the only way you could get a star was by landing on your opponents.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, so that was and then there was one of them where you could buy up to 5 at a time if you banked your coins, and you had to
Hmm.
go to a plaza where it's like that's where you bought the stars. Um, yeah, this was the last one that wasn't really gimmicky. Um, and I love the boards here. I love the conceit, the way that the conceit goes back to what's it called, to Paper Mario, which
Hmm.
is where all this comes from. Because it's all the you're in the dream dimension, I guess is what you would call it, or the Dream Depot, it's called. Um, and all the stars from Mario Party, I'm sorry, all the stars from Paper Mario are the ones that are the different modes. Um, yeah, and the mini games are really fun too. Like this, I think this game has the best selection of mini games of the Mario Party games that I've played.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I really enjoy the map layouts on this one too. That's what put this one here. That and Super Duel mode was really fun, and then all the different modes they had for playing mini games that weren't just going through party and playing that. It was like
Yeah.
there was like the decathlon, there was the tournament style, there's so many things that were different ways to play, and this game really kind of nourished that.
I love the Mario Party games. I have the new one. The new ones are confusing though because there's a greatest hits Mario Party that's came out and it's called like Super Mario Party
Yeah,
or and then
Superstars
no,
is
never
the
mind.
one.
That's it.
Superstars is the greatest hits.
The greatest hits one is called Mario Party Superstars. The other new Mario Party that's out is called Super Mario Party.
Yeah,
And they
there's a
look
new
almost
one.
exactly the same too. The new
There,
one looks really good. The last new one, the maps are way too tiny. I would say that because you can it's basically whoever wins is whoever starts first because
ah,
they discount the stars and the maps are so small that
mhm.
you only need 10 coins to buy a star
You
and
start with 10.
you start with 5 at least, but
Ah, okay.
then once you get one mini game and even the losers of the mini game get coins, so I think it's kind of bullshit there,
Ah,
but
because of woke.
yeah, exactly. The new one though, they made the maps way bigger again, so I think the newest one will be good. That's coming out like this year.
Yeah, that one I'm interested to see if the Switch servers can handle it because it's like 40, was it 40 or 100 players simultaneous online play?
That's insane.
Yeah, where it's like it's a decathlon mode basically, where it's
Mhm.
like you can play the mini game, you move up a bunch of spaces based on your rank, and I don't
Mhm.
remember if it's 40 players simultaneous or 100 players simultaneous. Like, but either way, it's like God, that is optimistic of you, Nintendo. Like,
They should do that with Mario Kart and have 40 people racing
yeah,
at the
I'm
same
sure
time.
I'm sure they can handle that. It's like, yeah, as someone who's played Pokemon, I'm like, yeah, I don't think the Switch servers can handle this.
Yeah.
Like, as someone who's played online Pokemon games since what was the first time they had that? Like '06? Like, yeah,
hmm
I'm not optimistic about their ability to do this. Like, it's why I didn't try F-Zero 100, where it's like, I don't think they're gonna be able to handle this. Um, but yeah, I do want to play the Superstars, but my issue with Nintendo is that if you don't buy it on Black Friday, you will never not pay $60 for a game.
Yeah.
And I do not want to pay $60 for a game that came out 2 years ago. Like,
Yeah, they're really annoying about that.
yeah, it's like Disney, where it's like, yeah, I know you know what you have, but like, come on, like, not everyone's made of money. Um, but yeah, I will eventually play Superstar, but like five is definitely my favorite of the like, and I think like we're gonna see a lot of GameCube representation on my list.
True.
Because the GameCube I think has probably the best library of games, even though I only have one more GameCube game on my list. Maybe not that much representation. Um, but what's your next?
My next one is the original Banjo and Kazooie for the Nintendo 64.
That game is so fun, and it only didn't make my list because I played it so late in life.
Yeah, I was lucky. I played it like when it came out. It was one of the first games I feel like I really understood like
Mhm.
the what a video game was that wasn't just randomly running around in the game.
Right.
And yeah, it's just so much fun. Like the music is great, like the animations are really funny. And then I think it held up too because I remember I played it again when we were in college and I
Mhm.
liked it still. I would say the only bad part about it is this was an issue with all the 3D games of that time is the collectibles where it's
Yes.
like there's like 6 different things you're supposed to collect, and it's just random objects you just run around and try to find. I guess it's just to make you explore the levels is
Yeah, that was just a product
the
of the
point.
the mid '90s in video
Yeah.
games. Because like even like Diddy Kong Racing
hmm
has like 7 different collectibles, and it's like why?
And Mario's um the yeah Mario Superstar 64, Mario 64, whatever it's called,
No, they only had that only had
the stars.
only the stars and only the coins.
Oh yeah, maybe yeah the coins thing. I'm thinking maybe that started it when they added coins. Everyone else was like we have to add
But like that game
everything
is
else.
so well done.
Mhm.
Like when you look back at the Mario games, they do such a good job of establishing how you play in this environment. I know we're talking about
Yeah.
Banjo-Kazooie, but like like from a gameplay standpoint, like the original Mario is that first level is very well designed because it's like, okay, you got to jump on the Goomba, you got to hit the block. It's gonna teach everything is taught to you if you don't read the instruction booklet in the
hmm
first beginning of the game. And it's the same thing in Super Mario, Super Mario 64, where it's like everything
That's
about
it. Yeah.
how you do everything now in a 3D environment for the first time is done. And I think Banjo Kazooie came after, and I think it really benefits from that. And I think the other thing that it does really well is it doesn't have that same aesthetic. It looks like markedly
hmm
different.
It's like it's completely its own world,
Yeah,
even though it's in 3D too. Yeah, it's like I think the music definitely is like one of the main things because I
yeah.
can still remember all the music from it.
Oh, yeah, it's a great game. I played it as part of the Rare Replay collection.
Oh, yeah, Rare. Good
Yeah,
times.
yeah. Unfortunately, they're owned by Microsoft now,
Hmm.
and they haven't put out a game in a long time. Because like they also did Viva Pinata, which also was really fun,
And Diddy Kong Racing.
and Diddy Kong Racing, and what was it? And a lesser known game, Disney Racing for the Game Boy Color.
Ah, yes, it's classic.
Mickey Speedway USA, which was
I had,
very
I
easy to
had,
break.
I definitely had one of the Mickey. I think in Nintendo 64, it had like a Mickey racing game.
Like, yes, Mickey Speedway USA, where you race through cities.
Hmm.
I have that game. I bought it fairly recently. But yeah, Rare was always very good at doing that. It was one of I think it was probably one of the first big victims of consolidation and the big
Yeah.
companies buying stuff. Like I think like them, I think Maxis, and I think Pandemic were the first three.
Hmm.
I actually have two Pandemic games on my list. I'm thinking about it now. I have two games created by Pandemic on my list. Um, but yeah, it's this game is very fun. I would definitely if you because I think is it on Game Pass? Is it included in
I think it
Xbox Game
is
Pass?
because I think you can get it on Xbox. I'm
Yeah, I
almost
think it is in
positive.
their Game Pass collection. I know it's not on
And
PC Game Pass ridiculously, but
the sequel's okay. And then there's that other racing one that's awful, where you like
yeah,
build
Nuts and
cars and
Bolts was
stuff.
terrible.
It was such a weird idea for
And the
that
thing is
like
too, it's
IP.
like you can't build the cars properly. Like I played a little bit
Yeah.
of it as part of the Rare Replay collection, and it's like it's not you can there's too many customization options, so it's very hard
Hmm.
to actually build a car. Like
Yeah, that was it. And then you had to like unlock stuff, I think, and
yeah,
like it just takes. It was so annoying. Like they
yeah, I gave
just
up on that pretty quickly. And like uh, allegedly, you can get Banjo-Kazooie for the N64 on your computer pretty easily. You would think Microsoft would just put it on Game Pass on PC to
yeah,
prevent people from allegedly getting it very easily
like
on
an
an alleged
emulator.
emulator. Yeah.
Hmm.
Like you would think they would do that, but they haven't. So it's just an odd choice. But yeah, Banjo-Kazooie is definitely a really great game too. Um, my next one, I think you're gonna be like, why the fuck is this on your list? Because I'm fairly certain you've played it too. My next one is the first Pandemic game, Mercenaries 2: World in Flames.
No, I'm not. It's I love that game, and now that you're saying it, I look back on it fondly. But
Yeah,
I wouldn't say it shouldn't be on your top
it
10 list.
is so great. Like the destruction sandbox of that game is so well done.
Hmm.
Yes, it doesn't have the best processing power, so if you overload the explosives, it drops to 5 frames per second.
Yes.
Um, but it's very well done. I also like that as you kill more civilians on accident, you have to pay more to pay off the media to not talk about it.
Hmm.
Um,
I think it's more funny than the GTA games. Like
oh yeah,
I think the writing is better. It's like
I think it's
yeah,
more
the
clever because the GTA stuff just comes off. It's like parody and like satire, but it's like instead of snap on, it's strap on. It's like
yeah, it tries too hard sometimes.
yeah, it's like yeah, okay, any opportunity for a sex joke, you're gonna take it. I get it, but like this feels, and the thing is too, I think the geopolitical landscape that they lay out in this feels more realistic.
Hmm.
Where it's like you start out working for the Venezuelan military, then there's the communists in Venezuela trying to take over. There's the oil company that's
Yeah,
a British oil company that's trying to take control because they want the oil reserves. There are the
hmm.
pirates from the Caribbean who are trying to get in there, and
China, you can
the
side. I remember
and
you
that's the
can.
thing too is that as the
Yeah,
game goes on, because the situation devolves, the UN and China both get involved, and you side with either the UN or China to continue the game.
yeah. I
And
like how no one's really good. Like
yeah,
it's they're like everyone is kind of bad in their own way.
yeah, and the thing is too with the UN, it's like they're like them saying like, "Oh yeah, we're the Americans." We can't say we're the Americans, but we're
Hmm.
the Americans because it's the UN. It's like who's funding the UN's military? It's the Americans. It's American interests that you're dealing with. Um, And I think that like that whole thing was very interesting to me. And I think that this is a franchise that feels weird that it's dead.
I know, because it was so. Maybe it's because they were so correct about their
Yeah.
the
But
political stuff that they were just like, we don't need this anymore.
like it feels like something like I've said it before. If there was a franchise that like they were like someone came to me, it's like they had a stroke and they're like, we need you to come up with a show for something. I'm like, do Mercenaries, set it in like Montana,
Uh-huh.
and like Montana seceded or some shit like that, and that's what it is. Like you
Yeah.
can do kind of the same thing and have it be really great. Like this is something that like there's so much. I think the problem is too. Like the first game was Korea, the second game was Venezuela, the third game was gonna be India. Um, the third game that got canceled when Pandemic got bought by EA, was gonna be in India, and I think the issue is when you take into consideration the era that this is kind of the beginning of more of a social conscience when it came to games. And
Yeah.
I think it's the portrayal of these countries that are traditionally thought as third world countries in this way. Like, yes, it's portraying colonialism very well, but at the same time, it's it's the Starship Troopers problem where
Yeah.
it's
We're,
like
it's yeah.
the
It's like
satire is too good that people don't understand it, that it's
yeah.
satire. Like that's
Mhm.
what it like that's kind of the issue that I think it is, where it's like we don't want to be stuck with this. And if you bought the DLC for the Xbox 360 in multiplayer mode, you could play as Obama and Sarah Palin.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, for the election, they had a DLC for the two of them.
I don't remember
Um,
that at all.
yeah, it's great, and there's someone doing an Obama voice for it too. Um, but yeah, I think all three characters are great. Like, it doesn't matter who you play as. I've never played as the woman because her only bonus is stamina increase.
Hmm.
But I think the best is Matthias because he has health increase.
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
I think I played with him the most.
yeah, because and Chris only has the you could hold more ammo, which if you play the game the way I do, finding more ammo is never an issue.
Yeah. I think I just ran people with cars half the
Yeah,
time.
that or like blow shit up or just
I
go
clearly
in.
remember I would go to the I sided with the communists so I could go to the jungle base just to drive
Yes.
cars off the mountain
And that's the thing
and
too.
just
It's like
see
this
it.
is the same thing as GTA 5. The open world in this game is so fun. There's a ton of stuff to do. None of it feels overly repetitive. Like it's great. I do have like the one thing that I hate about the game, besides the fact that you can't play it legally on any console right now, is unless you buy it used, is the fact that there's the missions where you got to try out the new technology. Those are
Hmm.
the worst. With the boat with the turbo and the car with the jumping and the
Oh
quarry.
yeah,
Those two are the two
I
worst
remember the
missions.
jumping one
Yeah, the
and how
jumping
annoying it was.
car and the boat with the turbo that you have to go through the minefield with
Yes, I do remember that.
in a time limit. And I'm like, why the fuck is there a time limit for this? Yeah, but this is a game that like I played at a friend's house and I'm like, I need to get this right now.
Yeah, I think I just randomly got it. Like I think I was the first one of my friends to get it and just loved it.
Mhm. All right, what's your next one?
My next one is Star Wars Battlefront 2,
The
or
original or the
the original one, not the new one.
Okay. All right, so we'll talk about that one now because I also have that on my list. This is the other Pandemic Studios game.
This game I've it might be in like the top like hours of games I've played because
Oh,
I
definitely.
beat the story mode a few times, but then my friend and I would just do instant action in like Galactic Conquest just over and over again, and it's still a game I've beaten multiple times today. Like I'll play through all of the Galactic Conquests and the story mode and just do like instant action. You can do online still.
Hmm.
It was such a just a fun game. Um, just it's a much different type of game compared to other shooters where you're meant to die. Like I think it's very unlikely you can do one match without dying at least a single time.
Oh, that's the thing
And there,
too. Like the AI in this game is the only thing I don't like.
mhm.
The AI in this game is
I think that part is
disgusting.
the part where it feels dated sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, where you can, if you play it enough, you can know how to like take advantage of the AI almost, and like you can bottleneck them or trap them in
Yeah.
certain parts.
There are maps that are unwinnable as one side.
Hmm.
Like Polis Massa, if you're playing as the rebels, you will win every time unless you colossally fuck up. But if you play as the Empire, it's impossible because you get bottlenecked in the middle of that.
Oh
That
yeah, compare
because it's a
yeah.
U and you get bottlenecked at
Mhm.
the end. So you have to like go a long way around outside in a ship, get through all of that,
And
and then go back the other way. And it's
mhm.
very hard to do that. Like I think that the this game, the remake is not terrific for $35.
Well, that
Um,
I thought that was a scam. I've had the Battlefront 2 for Steam forever,
yeah,
and
me
it
too.
was like pretty much all the same things that I could have done already. I think the multi online multiplayer was bigger. Like you could have more people in it. I think that was the biggest update.
Hmm.
But I did not pay the $35 for it.
Sorry, my phone is blowing up because Disney is doing D20, their big D23 presentation, and
Oh yeah.
if you keep hearing my phone buzzing, it's because I'm getting constant updates about that. Let's just say creativity is dead.
Is it all just sequels?
Zootopia 2, Incredibles
Uh,
3, Frozen 4, Toy Story 5, Avatar 3. There's a new trailer for Daredevil. They're doing a Hercules Broadway musical, Lilo and Stitch in live action, Agatha. Like
Live action Lilo and Stitch is gonna be so stupid.
it's gonna
Is
be
this?
it's not theatrical.
Oh, okay.
It's
So
Disney Plus exclusive, which means it's gonna look like
so it
shit.
will look even. Yeah, it's gonna look awful.
Because the Disney Plus shows do not look good. Um,
Uh,
but yeah, it's like Battlefront 2 is a game that I love this game. The story
yeah.
mode, the thing that always stops me from doing story mode is the level where you have to go into the Jedi Temple.
Oh, and destroy all the libraries and stuff.
Yeah, while the Jedi are trying to kill you, and they can
Yeah.
two-shot you because they have lightsabers and you have a gun.
Mm.
Was the honest trailer where it's like, or was I listening to another podcast where they talk about that scene in the movie where it's like he goes in with the battalion of stormtroopers and is like, "Okay, guys, you go kill all the real Jedi. I'm gonna go kill the children who are unarmed."
Children.
Like, this is a
Even that
bad distribution of the workload.
it kind of shows how shitty the Jedi are, where it's like they all
Yeah,
just got massacred by guns.
yeah, massacred by gun. Like it's one thing during the Jedi Mandalore War where it's like, yeah, they just use shotguns because they
Mm.
guess like because what they realized is the Mandalorians is that if you shoot a Jedi with a laser, they're going to use it like target practice. If you shoot them with a slug thrower, it's gonna go through the lightsaber and just shoot them in the face anyway,
Yeah.
but with shrapnel. So
Mm.
like it's they didn't do that though, which you would think they would have, but no. Um, but yeah, that was the only thing. Galactic Conquest in this game, I think, is also a lot better than in the first one. Um,
Yeah.
the map and it's kind of more strategy based, and I think that strategy aspect is really fun. Um, and there are only a few levels in this game that I do not like. Like I do not like Jabba's palace. Um, really, anytime you put me inside in a enclosed area, I'm like, I don't, especially dark. I'm like, I don't like this. The space
The
battles are
dark can
really
get
fun.
annoying.
Yeah, the space battles are fun though.
The
Um,
space battles are great because you can choose either fly around and shoot people or go into the other ships and just
yeah,
blow up all the stuff inside.
and I think the only issue I have with the space battles is that the point cap is too low.
It's very yeah, it's pretty easy. I usually just go inside and start blowing up
Yeah, if
engines
you
and that's
go inside and destroy the shield from the inside, then just destroy everything outside, you win because you've gotten enough
yeah.
points just from doing that to win. And it's like the point cap should have been like maybe. And the thing is too, it's like because the rest of the battle's raging on around you, you typically don't even need to destroy all of the systems because they will get
Hmm.
it, before that.
They'll be shooting other stuff like as it's
Exactly. They'll
happening. Yeah.
if they kill three other people, that's 12 points right there. Like, and that's that's already like about 10% of the way to winning.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I would like to see them revisit this. This is I think the biggest franchise on this list that I would like to see revisited modern and just kind of the same way, but on a modern AAA budget.
Yeah.
Like if you
And that because the new ones just focus on the multiplayer so much.
Yeah,
That's
just like and the thing is too, it's like these games had multiplayer. The multiplayer worked very well, both one and two. Um, and like just take what worked from the other games too, because there were some aspects of like the mobile games that came out after for PSP,
hmm.
that were pretty cool. Like the space battles had a extra command post.
That's I like that.
where like there's like your ships are like this on either side. There's like an island in the middle that
Mhm.
has like other ships, and you can go there, and it creates a ground battle there. And then in the fourth one, you can go air to ground.
Oh
So
yeah,
you're
okay, I like
in
that.
space. You could go down and do
Yeah,
the
because
fight on
then
the
it's
ground too.
an actual use for like the Space Marines and
Yeah.
stuff.
So it's things like that that are cool. I'd like to see them do that. But like that was my big issue with the remake was it's like, oh, so there's nothing new here. It's just moderately more
Mhm.
upscaled. Like it's, it's fine, but it's fine.
Yeah, for me, it wasn't worth spending the 50
30
plus dollars.
3502.
Oh, sorry, I meant the new one. That's like a completely different game too. The other Battlefront games that have come out.
Oh no, the one that came out this year?
No, like the one now is probably like 5 years ago. Like
Oh,
the
Battlefront 2, the new Battlefront 2.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, those were not good. I mean, the graphics are fantastic,
Yeah.
but like that's all it's not going for it.
Mhm.
Let me just capture command posts and fuck up the Empire. Like that's all I want to do.
Mhm.
Like that's all I want to do in life. Period. So I'm gonna have to skip Battlefront 2 on mine. So we've evened out now.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, my next one is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue and Red Rescue Team.
Mhm. I remember this.
Red Rescue Team just came to Switch Online for those who, which is we could not get the timing more perfect on this because this came out yesterday on Switch Online. Red Rescue Team.
Very
Um,
topical.
yes, the difference between this and the mainline Pokemon games, which do not worry, there's a mainline Pokemon game on the list too. Um, that this is you play as a Pokemon, and it's basically a dungeon crawling roguelike where you go into a dungeon, you have to get from the top to the bottom without dying. The map is randomized every time, the encounters are randomized every time, the items are randomized every time. You can bring in items with you, you can pick your party when you go in, you set up a loadout, and your goal is to get from the top to the bottom without dying. Sometimes a legend at the bottom, sometimes it's just a boss. Sometimes it's just to get to the end and you do something. It is really fun. I think the graphics hold up phenomenally well, and I think that that's just kind of what comes with pixel art in general. Um,
Hmm.
Pixel art will always age better than 3D, um, but it's so fun. And I think too, it's like the story is interesting because the whole thing is you turn into a Pokemon, and it's like as you've come to this world, calamities, natural disasters, and calamities have been befalling it. So everyone thinks it's because you came.
Hmm.
So at one point, you get run out of the town and you're on the run for a good amount of the game.
Yeah,
Um,
for a Pokemon game, it's like very interesting because it's so different from the other ones.
yeah, and it has a very deep post game too,
Hmm.
where it's like there are a lot of challenge dungeons after you beat the game, where it's like you can get Entei and Suicune and Raikou, and the thing is, and I didn't know this when I played it the first time, or didn't put two and two together to get to the island where they are, you need to have the HM for Surf. You can either
Hmm.
teach it to one of your water Pokemon and bring that Pokemon with you, or you can carry the HM with you. If you die, you run the risk of losing the HM. So to get the HM back,
You
you
can
have to
like
go.
screw up the whole game if you
Well, no, you can't screw up the whole game because you can't get the HM back. You have to get a flying type Pokemon, go to the final boss dungeon, which is Rayquaza, and you have to go through there to the final 10 levels, and then hope the RNG is in your favor, that you have found a key on the way up there, and then you find a room that can be opened by the key. And
Mhm.
when you get in there, it may have Surf, but it
Yeah.
may not. And also the other thing I think this game does that's interesting is your evolutions do not have a basis in your stats. Like your stats are set, whatever
Mm.
the stat of the base form is, that's the stat of everything going forward after that. So what you end
Hmm.
up with is like it's purely cosmetic. If you take your starter and evolve it all the way, it's purely just as you want to have a Typhlosion instead of a Cyndaquil.
Hmm.
But there's no, you know, benefit to doing that, which is interesting. And it makes it more about knowing type advantages and things like that.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
always awful with those.
yeah. I get bad at it when I go back and play old games because I take into consideration the current type advantages, which are not always accurate to what those old games are. Like when I was replaying Red, I forgot you cannot just flamethrower Magnemite because Magnemite was not a steel type yet.
Yeah.
So what's your next one?
Okay. My next one is Left 4 Dead 2, another Valve game.
Another one that I have that I have not yet played.
Yes, it's amazing. Like, story is zero. Like, there's not really a story. It's almost an anthology game where
Hmm.
each level or like is like I guess a series of stages that you have to go through.
Hmm.
Obviously, not die. And then once you end, then that's like you escaped or like got out of it. So that's why it's so much fun. Is you could go through an entire stage in like an hour or so, and then you can do it alone. You do it with people. The only one where you need to do it with other people is the very last one where you one person has to stay behind and like sacrifice themselves,
Hmm.
and then lets the other people escape.
So you can't play that game single player. You need to have a second person.
I think you can try. I remember I tried, and I just well, you end up having to sacrifice yourself, and you let the computers, I guess,
Oh,
escape or like get away.
oh,
So it's
that's
not as
yeah.
much fun if you do it
I'm
with other
just
people. And then you have to rely on the computers to like cover you too, so it's like a whole shit show. But that I like the second one more because the second one you can use melee weapons, so you
Mhm.
can like pick. You can have like a samurai sword or an axe, and it's just like constant blood spray, and like there's all these different power ups, and it's just a really fun game, especially to play with other people too.
Yeah, I have that one too on my list.
Yeah, it's on Steam, and I think if you buy it on Steam, it comes with all the extra maps that were DLC when the original game came out. So it comes with like 15 extra maps.
Oh wow.
And it has, I don't think the mods, I don't know if they work as well anymore, but it used to have the most fun mods where people, like someone remade Helm's Deep from Lord of the Rings, but for Left 4 Dead. So you can only use melee weapons and you're on like a big wall and there's hordes of zombies are coming at you. And it's just like Helm's Deep, basically.
That uh, I do appreciate a good mod.
Yeah,
Um,
it's so funny, like how creative people can be.
yeah, it's like it's the kind of thing where it's like, especially when they stick to the existing gameplay mechanic, and it's kind of like I had a mod for Battlefront 2 where it was Hyrule.
Yeah, there's stuff like that. It's so much fun.
Like how the fuck did you think to do this and have it work so well? Um, but yeah, I knew this and Counter Strike were kind of the two like you know mod like paradise games,
Hmm.
like because it's like they're huge in that community. But it's a I am gonna eventually play this one too. Um,
Yeah, I'd say this one, it's more just like a big action game. It's really not that, it's not really meant to be scary. It's just,
yeah,
you're just like blowing through hordes and hordes of zombies. That's it.
yeah. What was the? I remembered what the other game that I want to play that I haven't yet is Metal Gear Solid.
Oh, yeah, those games are hard because a lot of those games rely on stealth, which I'm
Yeah,
awful
which
at.
is which is the thing that like that's the reason why I didn't play them originally is because if the game has like it's also why The Last of Us is not on this list.
Hmm.
Because I played that for about an hour. I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing here. Let's just
Yeah.
not do this. Um, but yeah, like it is. Yeah, so I will eventually play those two, but because they just released the collection. Um, my next one is the Pokemon mainline game.
Hmm.
I think Pokemon peaked with this, and I think that they have not yet reached these heights ever again. And the answer is Red and Blue. No, I'm kidding. It's Heart Gold, Soul
Crystal.
Silver. Heart Gold, Soul Silver is where these games peaked.
Hmm.
Um, I think that this was not just the best of the games on the DS. This is the best games they put out. Period. There's so much to do. I think this is arguably the best use of the touchscreen. It's not gimmicky, but just putting all the menus down there so they're always open is such a
Yeah, it just makes
great
it easier to
idea.
play. Hmm.
Yeah, it's great. Um, Allegedly, it's very hard to play these games on an emulator because the Pokeathlon is very dependent on the touchscreen.
Oh.
Um, Allegedly, and the same goes for Diddy Kong Racing DS because
Hmm.
you rev up to start the race using the touchscreen or the microphone.
Oh, I didn't
Uh,
even know they had a Diddy Kong Racing for
yeah, they
DS.
ported it to the DS where it was basically 1-to-1, and there was like a level creator mode. But the thing is, like, to start the race instead of holding down the accelerator, you had
You had to
to
do
either
touchscreen?
you had to use touchscreen. So like for the plane, you had to go like this. For the car, you had to
Oh,
go like
okay.
this. And then
That's kind of
the
fun.
worst was
The boat.
for the hovercraft, which
Yeah.
controls like shit to this
Yeah.
day. You have to blow it to the microphone.
I remember
So
Peach had a game where you had to blow into the microphone.
well, that was Super Princess Peach. That game was
Mhm.
questionable.
Yes.
She used her emotions to save the day.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that like the way they rebuilt Johto and Kanto from the ground up, this is the best that these regions looked. Um, they added in all the cut content from Gold and Silver back into the game. They expanded with new routes. There's a battle frontier. There's so much to do in this game, and the following Pokemon looks great. Like the frame rate's consistent. If there's a character who's 10 paces away, they don't drop down to 5 frames per second, unlike current games. Um, and
Like
it's like,
I played a Omega Ruby on a DS at 3DS, and the frame rate's awful. Like
yeah,
it's crazy how bad it is.
the 3DS games you have to play in 2D mode because the 3D mode is just
It will
awful.
give you a searing headache if you try
Yeah.
to play it in 3D.
Yeah, and then on top of that too, it's just so slow. And it's just why
Yeah.
is it so slow? And if you go to the Switch games, it's like the only Switch games that are technically well made. I mean, aside from the glitch in one of them that lets you beat the game in 10 minutes, because you can just glitch your way all the way to the champions room without battling anyone. Um, the only two that look good are Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl and Let's Go. Like Sword and Shield and Charlotte and Violet look like shit
Hmm.
and they play like shit. Like it's just it's these this is where it peaked. And I do like Black and White, but if I'm gonna go back and play a Pokemon game and I have time to pick, Heart Gold Soul Silver is the one I'm gonna go to every time.
Yeah.
Um so what's your next one?
This is my second to last one or my last one?
This is yours. I only have two left, so I think this would be your second
Okay.
to last one.
This is my second to last one. Then it's Batman Arkham Asylum.
This is a game that you made fun of me because I was very bad at it.
Yeah, it's because this
It's like
game
that and Mirror's Edge.
Mirror's Edge is actually hard. This game, once you get used to it,
Mhm.
it is pretty simple, especially the fighting mechanics. A lot of people critique it because it sometimes just becomes button mashing.
Yeah.
But the story is so good, and I think it's so much fun to play. I've replayed it recently, and I like all three of the games. But I put the first one down because I think the first one has the best story.
Mhm.
The other ones, I think the gameplay is very good, and then the story kind of suffers just because of how expansive the maps get.
Yeah,
This one is the
that
one that
tends to
makes the
happen with open world games too.
yeah, that's what makes the most sense because it's just on Arkham. It's just in Arkham Asylum. They all break out, and you just fight all Batman's villains, and you're
Mhm.
trapped on Arkham Island. Um, so you got the Joker, like yeah, Batman being Batman. The other ones you get to play as Bruce Wayne, so that's kind of fun to play as Bruce Wayne. But
Hmm.
this one I think is the best one. Some of the cutscenes are funny because this is like I think one of the earlier games use like motion capture for the actors as they
Oh,
play the
okay.
characters. So sometimes their bodies are perfectly still and just their faces have any expression or like move.
That
Uh,
seems disorienting.
but it is fun, like the Scarecrow levels where you get like you go to the morgue and then like Batman's parents are in the morgue and then you like slowly find out you've been gassed by Scarecrow and you're actually in a Scarecrow
Yeah,
level. Like
that was
things like that are so much fun.
I think I got up to Killer Croc.
That gets tedious a little bit.
That was where I was like, I will get back to this at some point, and I guess never did.
Yeah, no,
Um,
it's kind of like Metroid Prime games where you slowly get all your powers back and you like go back and like
yeah.
retrace your steps.
Are you excited for Metroid Prime 4?
Yes, I love all the Metroid Prime games, so I hope it's good. It looks pretty much exactly the same as every other Metroid Prime game.
Yeah, I mean, well, how much for it looks higher graphics. I
Oh
think it's
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
be
The graphics look good.
I think it's gonna be the Breath of the Wild
Yeah.
for
These
it's gonna be the bridge game between the Switch and the Switch 2.
the only issue with the Metroid Prime games is the stories usually like you have to like look up afterwards what the story was for the game for it to like make sense.
Yeah, that's silly.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I did appreciate this for what it was. I do like the way I like the who is it who does is it Troy Baker who plays Batman in this?
I think it is. I think it is the big like or
Is,
Kevin Conroy.
is it
I
Kevin
forget.
Conroy? I don't remember. I know it's Mark Hamill who plays the Joker. He has a great
Yeah.
performance, but I don't
It's one
remember.
of the big Batman guys that does
I think it's Troy
the
Baker.
voice. Okay.
But he has a great performance as Batman here, and I really like what of the game I did play, and I just never finished it. Um,
Yeah.
and my brother was really into Arkham City. That was one of his hyperfixations before Fallout 4 took over his world. Um,
That they're good. The other Arkham games are good. I just put this one because it was my favorite of the three.
yeah, I bought them recently on Steam when they had a collection on sale. You're noticing a trend here
Hmm.
where
You
if
have a
you put a
library of good
if you put a
games.
bundle on sale on Steam, I will buy it.
I also
Um,
bought that bundle too.
yeah. Um, my my second to last game, is Stardew Valley,
Hmm. That
which
makes sense. You've been
yeah,
talking about it a
yeah,
lot.
exactly. I talk about that a lot, that game. For those who don't know, it's basically Harvest Moon. You are a farmer who moves to this. You worked for a corporation. You leave the city life. You move to a farm, and you farm, and you explore mines, and you make friends with the villagers, and you fight different monsters, and you help people with their problems. And yeah, it's like it's one of those things where it's like literally the most stressful job you could probably have. One of the most stressful jobs is owning your own farm.
Yeah.
Like there are very few jobs that I would want to have in the real world less than that one. And it's like
Hmm.
this is a game that I will just go into and just play for like 4 hours straight and just like, okay, I'm gonna till up the ground, I'm gonna do this. And I think the reason why this game is on the list is not because I think the game does super well or anything like that. I think it's because the game came out in like 2018 and we're now in 2024 and they just put out a massive update for free.
Yeah.
Like, and it's I think it's a one-man production team. I think it's just the one guy who does the game, and the amount of support this game gets to this day, and just free content updates, just very regularly,
Hmm.
is just fantastic. Like the most recent update, it's like they added in entire new gameplay mechanics.
Oh
Like,
wow.
and
And people
like
love it.
yeah, and the one before this, the update before this, added an entire second farm and an entire second map. And like these are things that they would have charged for at other companies, but that's just totally free.
Oh yeah, would have made it a sequel, like if you had to
Exactly.
buy it. Yeah.
Exactly. No, it's just this is just, it's just free updates constantly. And
Hmm.
it's, and that's why this is here. Like it's if this game was like there are other games like this. Like I played Ever After Falls earlier this year from Annapurna or Akuparna, I think it was.
Oh yeah, I know
Um
that one.
like
Annapurna.
it's one of those. I don't remember off the
Yeah.
top of my head. I don't have the email in front of me, but they sent me a code for it because it's kind of like that plus Animal Crossing. But it's like the thing that like it's great and I loved it, but the thing that keeps me going back to Stardew Valley is it's constantly being updated.
Hmm.
And there's always stuff added and there's always new stuff to find in the game. And it doesn't feel checklisty in a way to do it.
Hmm.
Even though there is a lot of checklisty stuff, like to complete the game to perfection, you have to ship every item and you have to cook every recipe and you have to catch every fish. It doesn't feel quite as checklisty, even though that is a lot to ask.
Yeah.
Because it's
But it's
things
not,
you
I
do
bet
in normal gameplay.
for a game like that, it doesn't seem like the goal of it is to like just 100% everything. It's just you're playing it for what you want to do.
Well, no, the goal is like the goal, quote unquote, is to get to the summit, and to get to the summit, you have to get the perfection to 100%.
Hmm.
Like that is like the overarching goal is to do that, but like there's no time limit, there's no pressure to do that. It's just like it's a cutscene you unlock if you get to the summit the right way,
Yeah.
and if you get to the summit the wrong way, you get stabbed. That was a new thing he added in the 1.6. If you use your item, you move forward a little bit. So he'll figure it out you can move forward, 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 out of bounds, then walk all the way around the block,
Oh, and then go up. Yeah.
and then go up there. And if you go up there by doing that now, it's that exploit's still in the game. But the guy who talks to you is like, "Oh, so you think you can just cheat and get over here, don't you?" And then he attacks you, and you end up in the hospital.
That's funny.
Yeah. So this game is on the list for that.
Hmm.
And your number one game, which is also your number one game of all time.
Yep, and this one already hinted at too, but
Yeah.
it's the original Resident Evil 4 that I got for the Wii, and I
Hmm.
had the gun attachment where you would put the Wiimote into a gun
And you
to
did that on
shoot stuff.
purpose.
Yes,
I will
and
say
I beat
this.
and I
Any
beat the
Wii
game.
peripheral, I hated it.
I like the gun attachment. It was like a big one, so
Mhm.
you put the nunchuck in two, and like
Oh,
you held it like this, and so you had like the thumb on the back.
oh,
It
that's how
worked
you
pretty
did
well.
what's it called? That's how you did Call of Duty too.
Hmm.
You held
And
the Wii button in that.
that game was so much fun. Like it's scary and it's kind of funny and goofy, and it's like much more expansive. So you're going through all these different environments. And it was the first Resident Evil game I could beat by myself, so that was like a huge like factor as well. And I
Mhm.
replayed it probably like 5 or 6 times at this point, and it's just so much fun. And like in the I'm playing the remake now. The remake's really good, but I didn't want to put the original and the remake on the my same
On the
list.
same list.
Yeah, and then in the remake, they purposely put things in for people that have played the original a bunch,
Mhm.
where there's like certain things people have done, and they'll like put in like death things or auto kill stuff if you like try to do something you did in the original one,
Hmm.
or they like kill a dog you saved in the original one on purpose, and then later on a different dog comes in. So there's a lot of cute little things like that.
Oh,
But
okay. So
the
it's like a Final Fantasy VII remake then, where
Mhm.
they play with the fact that you know what's coming because it's a remake.
Yeah, but
Um,
the original one, like the monsters are crazy, like the story is kind of funny, like it's so over the top.
mhm.
It's just a great game.
Yeah, I this is one that I was annoyed got nominated for game of the year last year.
Oh, it was a
At the Game
remake.
Awards. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
like, I don't know much about Resident Evil, but I do know Resident Evil 4 is considered by a lot of people to be one of the greatest games ever made.
yeah, and
Um,
they didn't change it that much. It's still the like the same plot,
right,
everything. So
like that's the
it's kind
thing
of
where it's
cheap
like
to make that the game of the year.
exactly, it's like that shouldn't be nominated for Game of the Year because the expectation should be this is one of the greatest games ever made, just remade in modern
Mm.
graphics. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this was a GameCube game
Yes, you could
initially.
get it for GameCube. I'm sure PlayStation.
I don't remember, but like I know for certain it was on the GameCube. So it's like I think one of the things that I've noticed is that the GameCube has such a great lineup of games
Yeah.
because its processing power was so much less. So it kind of made people think outside the box
Hmm.
with what you could do with what little power you had.
Yeah, with those little discs.
Yeah, like and I think it worked out for a lot of people in a lot of ways, and we ended up with a lot of really great games. Like even like you know, Super Mario Strikers is great. Like the
Oh yeah,
Mario
yeah.
sports games are all fantastic. Like that whole
I like
era
the
is
baseball one.
so good. Like, and then it's like when you look at PlayStation and Xbox, I think that their commitment to fidelity to like real life graphics is kind of a detriment to them in a weird way.
Because it will always look dated first,
Right. It
and
inherently always look worse, but if
Mhm.
you get more cartoony, it'll look better.
Yeah.
And this is another one that I was gonna play, but I wasn't gonna drop $60 on it. Um,
Hmm.
like that's the big thing, is like if I don't, $60, that's asking a lot. Um, so I am gonna play this one too. I do have it on my Steam wish list. I am gonna eventually buy it. But it does, it's or maybe allegedly I'll play it for the GameCube. Um, I could probably actually go to a game store and get that reasonably cheap now because the remake is out.
Yeah.
It's like the price of Paper Mario Thousand Year Door plummeted.
Us plummeting. Yeah.
Yeah, after the remake came out, which that remake was pretty good too. And I didn't put Paper Mario Thousand Year Door on the list because I just gave it a lengthy sloppy blowjob on backlog files when I did the
I
review
had
of
that.
the remake.
I had it. I made just a big list, and that was on my original big
Yeah,
list before I
yeah,
filtered it down.
yeah. That game is awesome, and the thing that keeps it off the list, the fucking glitz plate, the glitz pit, where it's
Hmm.
just you're battling through 30 battles that are just kind of boring.
It's TDI. That part gets
Yeah.
annoying.
But yeah, that's another really fun one. But yeah, I am gonna eventually play Resident Evil 4.
Hmm.
My last one, Super Mario Sunshine.
Oh yeah. That's. Do you know a lot of people hate this game?
Yes, I do know that, which is why I had to put it on my list.
Yeah.
Because I think that like I don't understand like look, it's bad design to have as many shine sprites as they are locked behind the blue coins and not
Yes.
having a way to keep track of the blue coins. I get it. I get it. The visual aesthetic of this is so different from everything else in Mario. That it looks so much better. The game ages so well,
I
even when you
love this
play it on
game.
the
Yeah.
Switch now. It is it's just great. This is probably my favorite of the 3D Mario platformers. Like it because it doesn't feel generic.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I love this game. I don't understand why it gets so much hate too.
I think that there's like the gameplay is a little bit weird, and like there are some tedious aspects of the gameplay,
Hmm.
like um the having to control the boats with FLUDD is a little annoying, and like I get
Yeah.
that. Especially with like again with the blue coins, a lot of the blue coins end up locked behind the mountain, the volcano, and you
Hmm.
have to get them by pushing the boat around. And if you hit anything, you sink.
You saying, yeah.
And I think that it's things like that that make people hate the game, but it's just like every environment you go to is like there's the hotel with the haunted hotel that's very clearly a reference to The Shining.
Yeah.
There's the the harbor where it's like a freight dock. There's the the mountains. There's the what was the other one? Like the beachfront where it's like a beachfront resort. Like it all feels on brand for the island you're on, but each area feels different in a
Yeah.
very cool way.
And the music
Um,
is really fun. I like
yes,
the water gun mechanic, and it like helps you and stuff. It's
yeah,
like a weird robot thing.
yeah, and like the fact that it's kind of a pseudo sequel to Luigi's Mansion,
Yeah. Hmm.
like that was another one that almost made the list was Luigi's Mansion,
I love,
but
yeah, I love Luigi's Mansion.
it's like the again it's where you use the cartoony graphics, it'll age very well, it'll always
Hmm.
look just as good because it's like look you're not trying to look real.
Yeah.
And I think that this is just one of those like the flood time is annoying too. When Isle del Fio gets flooded is a little annoying.
Hmm.
And also the idea that Bowser Jr. thinks Bowser fucked Princess Peach at some point, and she gave birth to him is
Yeah.
questionable at best.
I think
Like,
that's canon.
um, but yeah, I think that like this game is I get why people hate it. It's a speedrunner and streamer's nightmare. Like,
Yeah.
but I think that that's kind of if that's the worst thing you can say about the game, then
Hmm.
like oh, it's harder for people to monetize playing it after the fact.
Yeah.
Like that's more about you than it is about the game itself.
Hmm.
Um, and even like the secrets look so cool. Like when you like the areas where you have to go through the puzzles without flood.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Like
Yeah, it like
those all
exposes
look
more. Mhm.
yeah, those are like and it forces you to think outside the box because flood can be overpowered at times with its mobility. But to take that
Mhm.
away and be like, all right, motherfucker, now solve this problem.
Yeah.
Like it's really fun. Like this is a game that I will go back to even more than like Super Mario 64 because
I played
everything
it
there
more than
feels
Super
kind
Mario
of the same way.
64.
And like the only one that I think would be close would be Galaxy.
Yeah, I love
Um,
Galaxy too.
but yeah, that whole collection is very worth it if you could get that for the Switch at some point. Um, but I don't know if you could still get it at a Walmart or something because they did a limited time run of it.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so those are our top 10 games of all time. Are there any games you're looking forward to for the rest of this year? The Quidditch game, maybe?
Yeah, honestly, I don't think there's any I've heard about. But I'm awful with like video game news, so it'll
Yeah.
take me a bit to find out. I know they announced Resident Evil 9, but not for
Yes.
this year. And it's literally I'm excited because it's something completely new. They're not continuing the storyline from 7 and 8, and it's
Mhm.
not a remake either. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Because I love 7 and 8, and it was completely new, like stories and stuff and characters.
7 was Village, right?
No, 7 is the like haunted house in
Oh, 8 was
Louisiana.
Village. 8 was
Eight's
Village.
Village, but it's the same character from 7, and it
Mhm.
like continues his story. And it also retrofits the entire series in an annoying way, but I can talk about it another time.
Yeah, it's I I I don't know what else is coming out really this year. Looking at my count, there's that fucking Quidditch game, which everything I hear about it, every
The
time I
more it
hear
comes
news,
at it,
like it
seems
looks
worse and
bad.
worse.
It's
Yeah.
like the fact that your graphic, like your golden snitch catch mechanic has what's it called has not changed since the what's it called since the PS1 Sorcerer's Stone game is questionable.
Mhm.
Um, like oh, Epic Mickey's getting remade this year. I forgot about that. Um, and I'm just looking through. Oh, Silent Hill 2 is getting remade this year.
Oh yeah, I might get that then.
Mario and Luigi Brotherhoods this year, the new Mario Party, but that's really it. Um,
New Mario Party I'm excited for, but I already talked about
Jamboree,
why.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that I think we're the part of the issue is we're gearing up for next year being bigger.
Hmm.
Next year almost certainly is Switch 2. Um, and whatever launch lineup that is. I would be not surprised if we get Switch 2 trailer next week or whatever Gamescom is next week, 2 weeks from now. That would not surprise me. Um, and then it's like that release window. I think that's when we're gonna get like Prime, Metroid Prime 4 and Pokemon Legends ZA. Um, and then I hope too many companies don't move away out of fear of GTA 6.
Hmm.
Because I think GTA 6 will do money, but I don't think it's going to do that much money where it's like it's going to destroy the rest of the industry by coming out. Like, if that makes sense. Like, where it's
Yeah,
like everyone's going to
I
move
think
their
a lot of people are
dreams.
going to hate GTA 6 no matter what too. I
That's the
think it's going to
thing.
be very successful. I think it's going to be very controversial.
I mean, like, but I think part of that comes from the fact that Rockstar is controversial for the sake of being controversial.
Yeah,
Like they're gonna do stuff in that game intentionally because they're
to piss
big
people off.
believers. Exactly, they're big in the no such thing as bad press.
Hmm.
If people are talking about the game, good or bad, that's a win for us. Like I think that's kind of where they are, and it's it is what it is. But I hope that the game is good. People are very upset already with the woman and
Oh
protagonist
yeah, yeah, just from that.
was like, oh no,
Who
like
cares? Yeah.
yeah, it's like oh you like all you complain about is that you don't have enough attractive female protagonists, and now you got a hot Latina who's gonna be the lead here, and now you have a problem with it because
Hmm.
it's not a middle aged white guy like well, Michael and then Trevor was fucking the same age, and
Yeah, they're the same. Hmm.
I don't know. I hope this game's good. And I will eventually play it. Probably not at release, so unless they give me a code because I'm not paying. I heard it could be as much as $100 at launch.
I'm not going to pay that.
Yeah, I would not pay more than 60. Like
Yeah.
60 is my line unless it's a really good game.
Hmm.
Like I will not go over 60 unless like I paid 70 for Tears of the Kingdom, but like that's different. That was worth $70.
Hmm.
Um but yeah, so what else have we got coming up? I don't think there's any big movies coming out for the rest of the year that are things that you would be interested in, unless you want to pop on for Beetlejuice, which I don't think you'd
No,
want. Yeah.
I'm not going to see that movie.
'Cause I'm looking through at the rest, like Joker, um, Gladiator 2. Oh my
That was
God.
awful. It's going to be Gladiator 2. I think it's just a big money grab. It looks like the exact
Yeah.
same plot.
As opposed to the movie opening opposite it, Wicked,
Yeah.
which 100% this is a Barbenheimer attempt.
I know that what I think I've talked about how pissed off this made me, but I'm not seeing Wicked because the reason they made it into two movies, the director said, is because Defying Gravity is so powerful that the audience won't be able to like continue watching a movie after seeing that song.
I don't
So
think that
they
that's.
so they had to split it into two movies for the audience's sake.
But also, doesn't Wicked like I've never seen Wicked. Isn't Wicked known for having a very weak second half?
No, yeah, the entire play sucks. It has two good songs, and people think because it has Defying Gravity and Popular that the rest of the show is good when it's not. It's
Mhm.
like Cats. Cats sucks. It has one
Oh
good
no,
song.
I know Cats sucks.
Yeah.
I'm very aware. I have a VHS copy of Cats.
Yeah.
The one when it was on Broadway the first time. The famous commercial. I cried. It became a part of me.
Yeah.
I have the VHS from that.
I think everyone did it. I think I had the double VHS.
Yes, like that. I have that. It's in the trunk of my car right now.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's. I've never seen Wicked. I see the trailer every time I go to the movies now, and something about Ariana Grande's acting.
Yeah, it's gonna be awful.
just chafes. Like she's not a good actress.
No.
Like I think the lesson from like La La Land and stuff like that was find a good actor, and then like we can probably bring them up to mediocrity in terms of singing.
Yeah, they just need to sing okay enough.
Yeah,
They don't need to be
or
amazing.
do what they did to Audrey Hepburn in My Fair Lady,
Hmm.
where just dub over her.
Yeah, that's easy too.
Like it's
But that's what
even
they do in all
easier
the Disney.
now.
That's what they do in all the Disney movies. Like they have the person talking and then they have someone else for singing. Like all
Well,
the animated movies.
oh yeah, like Mulan, like Donny Osmond doesn't play what's his name the entire way through. He only plays what's it called? He only plays him when he's singing. But either way, it's like in live action now with AI, it's even easier to do mouth tracking
Yeah.
to synchronize the mouth movements. So it's like why are we hiring Ariana Grande to do this? Like because she just comes off annoying. Like I don't know if that's how
Hmm.
Glinda's supposed to come off, but she just comes
Yeah,
off
but in
annoying.
the book she is annoying, but not like that bad.
Like she comes off like I want to slap her every time she comes on screen. Like I don't know, but like they're very clearly they moved. I don't know if they moved back Wicked a week or if they moved up Gladiator, but they put them on the same date.
Hmm.
And I'm like, very clearly you're trying to do another Barbenheimer here. Like they're trying to boost both by having people go and see both in the same day, and
At the
it's like
same
I
time,
don't
yeah.
think that's gonna work, especially
No.
Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh, I didn't know. Yeah, that's not gonna work at all.
Like that's like it's a dumb idea.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's a weak end of the year. Next year will be better, hopefully. But before we go out, I want to get your opinion on the record on this because it happened in between the last time you were on and now. And I feel like it's a big enough news story, and we've talked about it. Um, what are your thoughts on Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Doctor Doom?
It's not gonna get me to keep this. I haven't seen a Marvel movie in a while. It's definitely not gonna get me to
What
see
was the last
more
one you
Marvel
saw?
movies. Uh, the
Was it
hmm.
Civil War when? Because that
No,
would be
it
the
was
last
after
one we
Civil
saw.
War. It was after Civil War. Did which came out first, the second Endgame Part Two, or the second Thor movie with Jeff Goldblum, or is that the
That's
third Thor movie?
that's the third Thor movie.
That's okay, the third Thor movie.
Yeah, because he wasn't in Love and Thunder, so he was only in Ragnarok. So Endgame came before that.
Okay, Ragnarok was the last one I saw.
Oh, okay. So you did not see either Infinity War or Endgame.
No, I guess
Oh,
not. No.
yeah. I think Infinity War is worth watching. I don't think Endgame is.
Mhm.
Especially if you're kind of lapsed. I think Infinity War is very good. I think Endgame is kind of like it's a victory lap. But if you're not on board with it being a victory lap, it's like why are you just jerking off Thor the Dark World so much?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I
Like
remember seeing that too. I didn't like it that much.
yeah, that was and the thing is too, it's like people say it's fallen off now. It's like, yeah, but there was a very lengthy period where these movies were not great before this too.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just
how I've
they hit
felt the
their
same about
stride
them.
really leading into Infinity War, like, but
Mhm.
like, and it was like Black Panther on was when they hit their stride, but like before that, it's like the movies weren't great to begin with. Like Doctor Strange isn't even that good, and I like Doctor Strange.
Oh yeah, I saw that too.
Like that was the year before Thor because that ends with the post credit scene that teases Thor
Mhm.
because that's him meeting Thor. I think it's a cash grab.
Yeah.
That's all it is. They hired the Brock Purdy of directors to do these two movies now.
Mhm.
The Russo brothers. They're good game managers. If you put enough talent around them, they'll make a great thing. But I wouldn't trust them to do anything on their own. Like it's who almost directed it, but Robert Downey Jr. vetoed it.
Who?
Greg Berlanti.
Oh, that would have probably been better.
That because the thing is like if you're gonna do Secret Wars, it makes sense to get the guy who directed Crisis on Infinite Earths, even if it was on the CW. It's like
Mhm.
that's a level of management that he has experience doing.
Mhm.
Like that would have made more sense, I think. But Robert Downey Jr. wants the Russos back. He's got his Emmy almost. He's got his Oscar. He's going for his Tony now.
Mhm.
He wants the EGOT, and then he could be back doing Marvel for the rest of his career.
Oh yeah.
Like he just wants to complete his Infinity Gauntlet and move on. But we'll wrap up there for today. Eventually Peter will be back when we do something else, if there's something else that comes out that he's interested in. I have a feeling you're not going to see Joker because I don't think you want to see a Joker
I might see it
musical.
on streaming, but definitely not going to pay for to see it in theaters.
Yeah, when you watch that trailer, do you think how did this movie cost $10 million more than Dune
Yeah,
Part Two? Because I think that every
exactly.
time I see it, like, because it's like really this cost $10 million more than Dune Part Two. Okay, sure, I guess. Um, but yeah, so we'll wrap up for there for today. And until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.